Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. David Kelly here, race director of the Great World Race. Today we have a gentleman with us who was born and raised in Kathmandu, Nepal. He moved to the US at 23 years of age. He runs extremely successful Om Namo Clinic in Belmont, Boston. Santosh Karmacharya, you're extremely welcome to the Great World Race podcast. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you so much for having us, David. This is an honor.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Now, just you can correct me there. I'm assuming I got your surname incorrect, like I do 50% of the participants that end up on this podcast.
Well, it is easy to mispronounce, but it's pretty straightforward. It's Karma Charya. So if you
Okay.
break it down,
So
you have it here.
I got it right beforehand. I got it wrong now. The pressure got to me. The pressure got to me. Santosh, listen, we really appreciate your time coming here. We know you have an extremely busy clinic there, and you're tuning in from there. But we just start in. So, grew up in Kathmandu, Nepal.
Yeah,
Obviously, bit different than the US. Can you give us a bit of insight into your growing up? Were you running? Were
sure.
you athletic? I know you played some soccer and stuff when you were younger, but give us some insight into that.
Well, Nepal is a third world country. Basically, the people who might listen to your podcast might know where it is, but it's a very poverty based, the people are very poor, not that they have to beg, but just like we don't have a transaction. So we, growing up, we didn't have a money transaction. Let's say you will have a little more of a rice and the other one has a wheat, and so they will say like, hey, barter it, like, I'll give you some rice and then we'll give you some wheat. So because of that, like our my upbringing was pretty very basic. And as you said about the soccer, I played soccer barefoot. I mean, we didn't have shoes. Like my parents, and they were intercaste married, which means my dad was from one tribe and my mom was from the other tribe. So they fell in love, but unfortunately both sides of the family did not accept it, so my parents had to move out of their the hometown. And so that's how I ended up being in Kathmandu. And so it was hard. It was hard growing up, but my parents were really adamant about giving us a good education. So they sent all of us to a private school, which I'm very thankful for. And some of the English that I know was because the grammars and all that stuff that I learned in school, it helped me. Uh, but outside of that, just the basic, the kids growing up in a poor country, doing some things, outdoor, running around, making a games. We didn't have any structural, like we didn't have any competition growing up. The first competition game, or the tournament that I played, was in my 12th grade, and that was basketball. But before that was just like hanging out and playing with the kids of my age and neighborhood. And so yeah, I knew I was always athletic, but our system and society and then the culture wasn't promoting the kids to be athletically driven. They want all of us to be professionally or educational based driven. Like they want us to do something so that way we could live a better life. But that's the only concept that they have. So if we played longer than 45 minutes, then we would get beaten up. And I was like, hey, you should be doing your homework, or like nothing was encouraged outside of our education. So that was that, and then in order to not to work, so I went to two school at the same time. So my parents gave me a choice. I'm like, okay, either you're gonna go to work or you're gonna go to school. And I said, fine, I'll go to school. So I went to business school in the morning, and then acupuncture school in the afternoon. So basically, I would start my school from 6 o'clock in the morning till 4:30 p.m. 6 days a week. The only day off we had was on Saturday. So that's what I did, and my acupuncture school led me to start a business in Nepal. So I did actually have a decent clinic back home. I did pretty well. And then with my business background, I had a snooker and a pool bar with a couple of my buddies. So all morning and afternoon, I was the guy with like a decent clothes, and then and as like a formal guy. And then the later part of the day, just go and play snooker and drink some beer and make some money. Because I mean, I owned it, so I was decent at it, I think. And so people wanted to bet money. So it was an easy way to make some extra money. So I did that, and then I came to America. Two reasons. One was actually I had to. This is the crazy part. The crazy part is I was dating this girl, and the girl asked me to meet her parents. Now, she was also in acupuncture school with me. So what that means is like her friends were my friends were her friends, like all of her together. And I mean, I liked her, but I didn't love her. So like, I didn't want to spend my life with her, you know.
I hope
But
she's not. I hope she's not watching here now, Santosh. We don't want some broken hearts now. Complaining to the Great
I,
World
I,
Race podcast afterwards.
I know. I will ask for her forgiveness, and I will still do. But anyway, so instead of formally breaking up with her, I talked to one of the American ambassador at the time was my one of my client, and I was talking to him like, "Hey, this is the situation. I don't know what to do." And then he said, "Hey, in America, we have this thing called summer camps, and so many summer camps they will invite the international people to join, so that the kids get some exposure to the international culture, like different cultures." I said, "Sign me up. I'm gonna go." And so that's how I actually ended up coming to Texas in May of 2000. And I had a 1 year worth of visa. I worked and try some, but I realized ultimately like America is not my thing, because everything is different, and I knew like I had to start from scratch. And in Nepal, I established myself in some level that I felt like, wow, this is going to be a really long time, because I was already like 23 years old, and I've already done schooling, and
What
I
year
thought
was
like
this, Santosh?
the 23, so
Twenty.
May 2000.
Oh, so you moved.
And
Okay,
then
so you moved to Texas.
was that?
You moved. You moved to Texas.
Yeah, well, I was that's where my summer camp was. So it's called Grayford, Texas. It was 126 miles south of Dallas, out in nowhere. But anyway, so I moved around a little bit, and then I was just pretty fed up, and I only had at that point only had $120 left in my pocket, and
Was
I
that,
was in
sorry, you moved. You moved. So first of all, you moved to Texas.
yeah.
It was for acupuncture, was it? Was that the
No,
plan, or was it just do summer? It was for summer
no,
camp.
just for camp, being with the kids.
Perfect.
Show, basically how to walk in a straight line to like go in a pool, and the summer camp, right? So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, and then I finished the program, and then I had a little bit of time since I had a visa. I had a time here to stay, so I moved around a little bit and ended up coming to Boston with one of my friends' recommendations, saying like, okay, let's try Boston, and if it doesn't work out, you can go home. At that point, David, I only had $120 left, and I looked at the internet, and then my flight connection back was from Chicago, so I looked at the ticket, one-way flight from Boston to Chicago was $82. And I'm like, okay, I have $40 to left, $40 to spend while I'm in Boston. So obviously, it doesn't work out that way. But I came to Boston. I really liked it. It was in September at that point. The weather was nice. People were like multicultural. I blend in fairly well. And there were
Santosh, the weather's never nice in Boston. The last three times I've been there, I
I
don't care what month. The three times I've been there, I've heard about this sunshine. All I get is rain when I go there. So
yeah, it must be your luck. But yeah, and so there was enough of Nepali people that they found out that I was there, and then they said, "Hey, there's a guy. He's a security guard. He will hire any Nepali people. Nepali, they trust him. As soon as if you say you're Nepali and you send it by us, he will hire it." So I'm like, "Fine, I gotta do something, because I mean, I gotta have some money." So that's how I started, and I was ready to go back, David, after 4 months of being in Boston. And then Nepal was having a really hard time. We were about to break a civil war, or coming to that point, and our royal family were massacred in one dinner table. So it was like chaos. It was really hard for my parents to tell me that, hey, if there's a way you can stay there for now, you should, because it's just gotten so bad out here. So that's how I went back to school again here. And I thought I could go to get to my graduate school because I already had my bachelor's degree. But the international again, the America has their own standard, and so they told me no, I can't get it. So I had to go repeat my all the schooling again. Long story short, in the process, I found this center that I own now. Um, and I met with a guy, and he said, "Well, I'm not hiring you, but you have to rent a space here. So you can rent a room, and you make your schedule, and see as many patients, clients you want to see." Um, and I should give this to credit to my wife. At the time, we just got married, and she said, well, if you think you can do it, you should do it. But she didn't have any idea what does that mean. It's like, I mean, that means I might not make any money for a certain amount of time because if people come, that's when I make money. And but she didn't have any concept. She still doesn't have a concept about money. But that's her. And she said, "Yeah, you should do it." I'm like, "Okay, fine. If she says so, then I'll do it." And it took me about 3 months, 4 months to kind of understand the rituals or concept or the people's idea of why they come to seek this kind of support or help. And then I never looked back, and here I am. I've been in the same the facility for last now 22 years.
And just Santosh, just to go back there just for a minute, like moving from, because we'll go to the clinic now in a minute, moving from Nepal to Texas and then to Boston, was it a massive change? Like, was there, like, was the US, like, that was in 2000, so, like, was there a huge change?
Yeah, I mean, so just just giving you an idea. Like, so we had this a meeting before coming to America, and then they were showing us this movie. And in a movie, it was kind of a showing that a white guy with the nice shirt and tie were the good guys, and the black guys were the bad guys. And so, anytime you are in trouble, you should look for the cops. So that's the mental preparation that they were trying to give us. And so that was the premises. And what I've been watching or seeing of America was, at least from my concept, was yellow cab, tall building, and people are just always hustling and bustling. And then the one other concept is also the a when people come from America, they have some swag. They have some this way about them that feel like whoa, like it's kind of gives it an idea like wow, this is cool. This is a country to go to. And on top of it, I had a bunch of American expats that they were my patients, clients, and I really enjoyed them. And so that was one of the reason I picked America to come. Uh, but then when I came to Texas, I was like, what is this?
Some culture
Not
shock. Yeah, I can imagine.
exactly. So they took us first. The preparation was in Kansas, somewhere in town, and from there they flew us to Dallas, and then drove us. And I was like, you cannot even see the house. Forget about the tall towers. And then the worst of all was the English itself. I thought I spoke English, but my God, I mean, they have their own accent and then slang. And I was like, all I did was like nudge my head, like, because I didn't know what they were saying, but I had to say something. So I was like, yeah, like I had no clue what they were saying. And it was really, really hard. And then to be with the kids was even harder because they would make fun of me. I mean, I was supposed to guide them, but I couldn't guide them. I was like, I was lost. But as slowly and steadily, I understood some of the ways to be there, and then fortunately, there were many other international counselors there as well, so we could at least have our own version of speaking English and support each other in that way. And so, one of the best things that I did at the time was I learned all the bad words in so many languages, from Bulgarian to Russian to like you name it. Like there was kids from all over the country where all over the world came there. So it was fun. Like anytime we got upset with the kids, we'll swear in one language that the kid would not know. So all the counselors will laugh like, oh, he's having a hard time. So it was fun, but it was really really hard, and that was one of the other reason I realized like okay, America had the concept, but the reality was completely different, and I was pretty defeated by what I thought to what I saw, and that's what one of the reason I thought like I should just go back and do what I was doing.
Well, it's unfortunate it's Nepal's loss, but Boston's gain that you stayed there, because we obviously met up for a cup of coffee there about a week ago, and it was a pleasure, half an hour conversation we had. But I was also when I popped into your clinic, the Om Namo clinic, and we had a talk off air exactly what you do, because it's kind of a multi faceted clinic. You kind of work on all aspects of injuries, and as you're saying there, obviously you're not taking on too many clients, because obviously you have a huge reliable client base at the moment. So anyone that's thinking about joining in, they'll have to maybe send you, maybe harass you with a couple of mails to get an appointment. But do you want to go through on exactly what you do in the clinic? Because it was super interesting. You
Sure.
said off air there the
Sure.
the insight you gave us on it.
Totally. So I'll take it back a little bit. First, the clinic used to be called Oriental Medicine. So Oriental Medicine, and that's how the OM came, right? So the OM was our abbreviations for the center, and then at the time I realized that I'm gonna go to the other room real quick. Yeah. Um, sorry.
No
Sorry,
problem at
David.
all.
Gotta go to the other room. Just a
No
second.
problem at
There we go.
all. It's all excitement. It's an interactive
Yeah.
podcast.
No problem. And so what happened was I did. I went to acupuncture school, right? So before acupuncture school, I was a physics major guy, um, and so I was always interested in gravity, like how does the gravity works. And then once I get into the acupuncture school, then I saw a lot of people with a lot of joint pain. That was one of the things that was very very common in acupuncture world, like people coming with a joint issue is one of the common issue. And so the adjunct school of acupuncture, I did go to chiropractic school and a physical therapy school. So I kind of understood what's the joint manipulations is, but then also understood like what's the rehab means, like how does something or something can be manipulated so that with the system can work better. And then when I put all of those together, that's where I started to make a bigger concept of how the body should work or has a potential to work. And that's what led me to have the Namo came from Namo Yoga. Like, so yoga is, David, it's much easier for me to apply because when I say biomechanics, people are like, what, are you a car guy? Like, they think of, I'm going to fix their cars or something. So it was easier to go through a yoga route. And that's how the Om Namo came, as like a two parts came together. And then so when I look at the person, I'm able to see how why they're sitting the way they're sitting, and then when they stand, like what is the reason behind the way they stood, and then when they walk, and then when they talk, like so, I can exactly see the patterns of their very subtle movement that allows me to break it down, the system, how it is working, how it's supposed to work, and what are the potential and what are the ways that perhaps we could apply or implement so that the body can work at its best. And mostly it's just a curiosity. And when I could have a conversations and communications with the people, and I said like, look, this is where you're at, this is where it has the potential to go, and there might be a couple of ways that we can get there. And so that piques their interest and curiosity in a way that I'm like, oh wow, he's just not telling me what it is, he's just not telling me what to do, but he's just kind of giving me the pathway that perhaps has some potential to get where I want to go. And so that is what helps me, I guess, to treat the people.
And Santosh, just on that note, so is it like, I presume you treat clients of all ages, patients of all ages?
Yes,
You know, and
yes.
and just when you just reference if we talk to biomechanics, so like if you come and say someone is injured or to come to your clinic, do you work on like yoga to get the biomechanics better, or do you do both together? Is that what you're, just to clarify there? It's super interesting actually.
Yeah. So see, this is where I don't like to label what I do, because as soon as I label something, that means I become a hammer of that, right?
Yeah,
So
no,
then,
absolutely. Yeah.
like my lenses only works from one direction. So my I don't know. This is how my brain works. I think David, is like I'm always curious. Like even when somebody is doing something, I'm still thinking like, okay, why is this person doing this? Like, what is the reason behind it, or what is the potential, the possibility for the body to move? Like, so there's this always, I'm always constantly seeking the information that the body gives. So the now the because I could work manually, I could touch the person, I could do the body, movement, and I could do the physical movement, but I can also talk to them about what it is. And since I have a decent knowledge about the physiology, kinesiology, like I could talk in a many different ways so the person can understand. So I don't rely on just one. So this is why it's really hard. So one of the funniest thing is, David, people have been coming to see me for 15 to 20 years now, right? So when they say, Santos, if I have to tell my friend, what do I do? What do you do? What do I say? I'm like, I don't know, because I don't know how to make somebody to give those elevator pitch to say like, this is what I do, because I don't know. I mean, I and
As
that
long as they
now
feel better,
coming
Santosh, that's all that matters.
now I don't even know, like people, like when in the gatherings, I'm like, so what do you do for a living? Most of the time, David, I'd love to say I'm just going to school for something to learn. Like, so I don't like to tell what I do, because then it ended up being like I'm trying to pitch, like, my what I'm doing. Then they will have more questions. I'm like, dude, I'm not here to talk about what I do. I'm here to just to enjoy like everybody else is. Just like keep it light and keep going. So if you have any insight of what I should say, please let me know. I'm all ears.
No, Santosh, I think you can handle that yourself. Listen, it's definitely, if you tell them like the story you just told us there, people will be more than happy to be intrigued. There'll be a couple of hours of questions coming your way. Uh,
Exactly, and that's what I don't like it, unless you are in the similar territory. For instance, I think what happens is, like, if you have a questions, I might have an answer, but if you just have an interest, I might not have an answer,
no, I
because that
understand.
means, it's quite broad, and so I don't like to pinpoint something unless you have specific questions about it.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, it's super interesting. And yeah, I said there'll be plenty of people asking you questions on the plane, and they'll be intrigued about your treatments and your background. Santosh, you never ran a marathon. Unfortunately, the bombings obviously happened in 2013, and
Yes,
your first marathon was in Boston. Was it 2014? Is that correct? Is that how the
that is correct.
marathon career started?
Yes, yes. So before that, David, I mean, you can imagine, right? So I came from Nepal, and I had this third world country mentality. What that mean is like make money and save some, and then send back home, and just grind. And then the concept is, okay, my journey to be in this life is to work hard enough so that way my kids or my family will live better, so they don't have to struggle as much as I did. So that was the concept that I had until certain point. And then slowly I started to play basketball a little bit here and there, and but it was a good gatherings with the people. And Boston bombing was something that kind of hit me a little bit. Wow, like people can do good or bad, and then here's a bad, and then but I don't want it to be afraid of somebody doing bad, and we still need to continually march on doing what we want to do and should do, not be afraid of something happen. And so it was just one of my patient was actually saying, Santos, next year we should do marathon. I'm like, yeah, we should do it. And so I had a one contact. So if you are a Boston Athletic Association board member, then the person gets one number for free every year. And one of the guy was my patient, and he said, "Okay, Santos, if you want to do it, I'll give you my number." And the guy was old; like he wasn't doing it. He was just a smart guy, so he said, "I could do it." I'm like, "Okay." So then that's how I ended up training for marathon. And the woman who told me, she didn't do it, but anyway, so I started the running career from there.
And
And
you ran every Boston since except one. Is that correct?
Yeah, 2020. So that was because they canceled it because of the COVID, and they did a virtual one. And that year I did the London because there was a 40th anniversary, and my friend said, "Oh, you should do it." I'm like, "Okay, fine." Yeah.
It's a good
So
marathon in
I
London.
did that. Yes. Yeah. You should see my video of how I used to run when I first started. I used to run like a basketball player, like a tilting side to side, like I'm trying to steal a ball from somebody else. And so it took me a little while to get the better concept of what is the running mechanics is, and so here I am.
And Santosh, you've also done a couple of Ironmans. You kind of
I did. Yeah, so far I've done 6 Ironmans, uh 6 full Ironman, and I think I've done like, I don't know, 15, 16, something like that, of the 70.3 Ironman. And I've dabbled a little bit in ultra marathons a little bit, but yeah.
okay. So we'll go into the current training. How is the current training going for the Great World Race?
Well, so the concept for me of this 7 marathon came in 2022 when I did the Boston Marathon, and then I had the number to run London. That came a little bit later, so I wasn't quite ready for it. But I'm like, hey, London, it's really hard for Americans or any other countries to get the number unless you get the lottery. So when my friend said like I could get a number, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And so I did Boston Marathon, and then I went to London 5 days later, 4 days later, and then I did the London Marathon, and actually
When
did
was this?
faster. What's that?
When was this?
This was 2022.
Oh, 2022. Okay.
Yeah. So, and I went there, and I ran faster in London than Boston, and I was like itching my head. I'm like, okay, there's something's weird here. So then that kind of made me think like, oh, maybe I do have that endurance to do multiple runs. And then, David, I remember meeting you in 2023 in Chicago, and then you had the in a booth, you had your world race, and I was talking to you. I'm like, there's a woman in Belmont. She has done this 7 marathon, and I was intrigued by it, but I never thought it's just something that a human could do. And then you're like, you gave me this talk like, yeah, you're a perfect candidate. I'm like, oh, okay. And it kind of was back in my head. And then this year I said, okay, if something should happen, this should happen now. And that's when I called you, and then you had a spot, and here we are.
The rest is
So
history.
yeah, in terms of the training, I was training for World Championship Triathlon. So this was in Australia in September. Or no, August 22nd was the race. So I just finished that race. So my physical body was in a pretty good shape in a sense of like from the training point of view. But I hadn't run. For thinking of I'm gonna run 7 marathon, uh, and when I calculated it, I was like, okay, 8 weeks. Um, if I could push, like, so before I contacted you, I said, okay, if I could run 70 to 75 miles a week, I'm gonna call him if I could overcome that without injury. So I ran that, and I ran, and I was like, I ran and I was fine. And I'm like, okay, let me push one more time just to be sure. So I went, and then I did a 90-mile run next week, and surprisingly my body handled it. So that's when I said, okay, I'm gonna contact, and if it is gonna happen, this is the year it has to happen. And
It was
that's
destiny, Santosh. And Santosh, just on that, because we always ask
yeah.
on regular marathons, are you a gels man? Are you a fluids man? Or what's your general schedule with hydration?
Yeah. Well, I typically love to have like a fluid. So the starch, the scratch has those super fuel. It has like a 400 calories. So I take one of those, and then somehow that keeps me hydrated really really well. And then some gummies and gooeys stuff, like I take it every 4 or 5 miles. And I seem to finish marathon. Like, I mean, I do 255, 256, so nothing too fast,
No,
but I
very
guess
good.
nothing too slow either. So, like I feel fine. Yeah, so that's typically is my go-to. is that a couple of gummies, and then like a lot of these big races, they have those Morton gels, and so I know like okay, before the Heartbreak Hill, I will take one of those non-caffeinated gel. It pulls me up to the hill, and then a couple of those they give you Gatorade water. That's
Look,
it.
don't worry, we'll have plenty of gels and we'll have plenty of electrolyte and Gatorades for you in the Great World Race. But
One question is, David, what do you have for mind? Do you have any gels for our mind?
there's no problem at all. I'll have a team there to motivate you, Santosh. The only disappointing thing, after 7 marathons, you'll want to run another 3 or 4. So that'll be the only disappointing things that I'll have to stop you in Miami.
Oh, maybe we can run from Miami to home.
Absolutely. But listen, Santosh, it was an absolute pleasure having you on. Very intriguing background story. And listen, congratulations on obviously starting running, and also congratulations on the centre there in Belmont. But listen, it's an absolute pleasure, and we look forward to catching up in Cape Town in a couple of weeks' time.
Thank you very much, David. Thank you so much for your time and doing this. This is an honor.